guys, my name is Dasalma, and today I will teach about grammar in middle school's level. And without any further ado, let's get into it. So there are 3 points that I would like to teach or explain, and we are going to learn. The first one is vocabulary, the second one is active and passive speech, the third one is direct and indirect speech. So, next, I'm sure you guys already know what is the definition of vocabulary, but I'm still going to explain it by the way. Vocabulary refers to the body of words used in a particular language or by a particular person or group. It encompasses words and phrases that an individual understands, uses, and recognizes. I'm sure a lot of you guys already stumble upon a new English vocabulary every day. For example, when you go into your class, you see table, you see chair, you see whiteboard, you see your friends, you see cupboard, and a lot of new English vocabulary that you are going to learn every day. Next slide. Creating vocabulary materials for middle school students involves selecting words that are appropriate for their age and cognitive level. So there are 6 vocabulary we are going to learn today. The first one is evaluate. The definition of evaluate is to assess or judge the quality or significance of something. So for example, we are going to evaluate our materials today with our teacher. So we are going to assess or judge the quality of our materials with our teacher in the class today. And the second one is analyze. To examine in detail, typically to understand the structure or components. So for example, we are going to analyze the definition of something, or we are going to analyze the definition of grammar, the definition of vocabulary, and all of that in detail. So we are going to examine in detail the definition of grammar, for example, and all of that. The third one is summarize. Summarize is to give a brief statement of the main points. So usually summarize is used by the end of the meeting, discussion, or a forum. So they write a main point or the main event that are discussed previously, so they can look back into it to the summarization and remembering what the meeting or the discussion talks about. The fourth one is justify, to provide reasons or evidence to support an idea or action. So it's usually used in law or rules. It's more complicated. And the fifth one is explain, to make clear or understandable by describing or giving reason. So what I'm doing right now is explaining the material to you guys so that you can understand the description, and I'm giving reason the material to you guys. And the second one is the last one is identify, to recognize or name something. I'm sure a lot of you guys already know what is identify, so I'm going to skip that one. And next one, there are importance of vocabulary. So what is the importance of vocabulary? There are 3 points that I'm going to explain. The first one is communication skills. A rich vocabulary allows individuals to express themselves more clearly and effectively. So, in communication using English, when you already have a dependable vocabulary material or a rich vocabulary, you can express yourself in more confidence and the others can understand you clearly and you can explain more effectively. The second one, reading comprehension. A diverse vocabulary helps reader understand and interpret written materials more easily, leading to improved comprehension and critical thinking skills. So when you read a book or a novel, you read the English words or sentences, and if you already master your vocabulary or you're rich in a vocabulary, you know what these words or sentence means, so you can understand what the paragraph or what the books are talking about. So the last one is critical thinking. A person with a rich vocabulary can analyze information more effectively, make connection between ideas, and engage in logical reasoning. So when you have a rich vocabulary, you can also use your critical thinking to analyze information and make connection between ideas, expressing your ideas to other people, and engage yourself in a more forum to share your logical reasoning to other people and all of that. So vocabulary is really important for you guys to learn and master it. We are going to move on to the second materials. It is active voice. In active voice, the subject at the sentence performs the action, and the action is typically expressed directly in the sentence. So, for example, the cat chased the mouse. So the subject is the cat in the sentence and performing the action of chasing. So the subject, the action, and then the target. The cat chased the mouse. In active voice, the subject is in front of the sentence and then the action and then the target. Meanwhile, in passive voice, the subject of the sentences receive the action. The focus is on the action itself. So in passive voice, they tend to focus more on the action itself, and the performer of the action might not be explicitly mentioned or may appear in the prepositional phrase. So, for example, the previous example, the cat chased the mouse. And in this example, the mouse was chased by the cat. So it's like the opposite. In the sentence, the mouse, the subject, is receiving the action of being chased. So the mouse, the subject, and the action, chase, and the performer of the action is the cat at the end of the sentence. Do you guys get it? And I'm going to give more example. An active voice, she wrote a beautiful poem. And passive voice, a beautiful poem was written by her. So an active voice, the subject is she, the action is wrote a beautiful poem. And in passive voice, the action, a beautiful poem, was written, the action, by her. So in passive voice, the subject is a beautiful poem, but in active voice, the subject is she. Another example, in active voice, the chef prepared a delicious meal. In passive voice, a delicious meal was prepared by the chef. So in active voice, the subject is the chef and the action is prepared. In passive voice, the subject is a delicious meal and the action was prepared. So in passive voice, the action is in front of the sentences, but in active voice, the subject is in front of the sentences. Do you guys get it? I hope you guys get it from my explanation. Okay, we are going to move to the next material. Oh, I forgot. There are additional information about active and passive voice. In active voice, the subject performs the action, while in passive voice, the subject receives the action. Passive voice often involves using a form of the verb to be, for example, was and were. The previous example also contained was. The poem was written by her, along with the past participle of the main verb. The past participle is she wrote a beautiful poem in active voice, but in passive voice, the past participle from wrote is written. So, the choice between active and passive voice depends on the context and emphasis you want to give to different parts of the sentences. Okay, let's move on to the next material. The next material is direct speech. Direct speech involves quoting the exact words spoken by a person. The spoken words are placed within quotation mark. In direct speech, we often use reporting verbs like said, asked, shouted, and etc. For example, Mary said, "I will come to the party tonight." So, you must remember, in direct speech, there are quotation marks and reporting verbs said, asked, and shouted. Meanwhile, in indirect speech, also known as reported speech, involve a paraphrasing or reporting what someone else has said without quoting their exact words. In indirect speech, the reported words are usually introduced by a reporting verb and are not enclosed in quotation marks. So you must remember also, in indirect speech, there are no quotation marks. For example, you can see here, Mary said that she would come to the party tonight. There are no quotation mark and said that she would come to the party tonight. It's different from the direct speech. For example, you can see here, direct speech, Ray said, "I am going to the store." Using quotation mark because it's direct speech. And in direct speech, Ray said that he was going to the store. He was going to the store. Another example, George said, "I love watching movies." And in direct speech, George said that he loved watching movies. Said that he loved watching movies. So the differences is quotation marks and using pronoun and using past participle. Additional information about direct and indirect speech. In the indirect speech, these exact words are quoted and quotation marks are used. So if you stumble upon a sentences with quotation mark, it is a big chance that it is a direct speech. And in direct speech, the reported words are paraphrased and no quotation marks are used. In indirect speech, the pronouns may change based on the perspective of the reporting speaker. The pronoun that you guys see on the previous example, there are he and she, depending on the perspective of the reporting speaker, the name of the subject in front of the sentences. So that's the end of the materials. I hope you guys understand what I just teach, and I hope you can apply this material to your daily basis. And that's all from me. I'm sorry if there's any miscommunication from my words. That's all. Thank you for listening.